Welcome to part 2 of 3 of organizing and prioritizing your studies. So the first thing we're going to talk about in this section is the block schedule. The block schedule plays an important role. Its purpose is to help you identify obligations that are set, things that are not flexible. So for example, time you are in class, those aren't flexible. You're expected and you should be there each week. If you work, same thing, you're expected to be there. Of course, if your work hour changes, your block schedule may need to be updated occasionally to reflect that. So not only does this block schedule help you identify obligations that are set and not flexible, they also help you identify time that you do have to do other things that can be more flexible. So let's just look at example block schedule. So this is a sample block schedule for a student taking 10 units. You'll notice that we have work time, tutoring time, we have class time, and I'm not sure if you're aware, but for every college unit you take, there is 2 hours of outside class work that you are expected to complete. So that includes readings, assignments, review, all the stuff you have to do for a class. So for example, this math class is 4 units. That means you are expected to do 8 hours of outside work to learn the course material. So in this example, we blocked out that study time, mostly for effect. And as you can see, it's pretty much a full-time job once we put all that in there. Now, this schedule isn't perfect. Is there anything that you notice about this block schedule? If you've noticed, we had nothing entered on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That would have been a great observation. Usually you would not do all of your studying and work in a Monday through Thursday setting. In reality, you would do study time on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, even if you weren't working and tutoring. You may have other obligations. You may even want to write in time to exercise. So usually your Friday, Saturday, and Sunday probably shouldn't be blocked out. Now, you don't have to block out your study time in a block schedule, but I suggest that you do put time on there to study and just keep it generic, because one Wednesday you might need to do the math homework, but another Wednesday you might need to work on anthropology. So you can keep it flexible, but just block out time to dedicate to yourself for the purposes of studying and learning course material. So that is a block schedule, which is very useful to have. I suggest creating it at the beginning of each semester. As long as your work doesn't change, then you do it once and it works for the whole semester. If your work changes, you might have to update it occasionally, especially if you have a lot of tasks that you want to manage. Another tool that works great with this block schedule is a daily calendar or a planner. And the purpose of the daily calendar is to, of course, identify activities that are already scheduled, but to also help you schedule and remind yourself of other activities such as doctor's appointments or other appointments that are going to be more flexible. Usually you wouldn't schedule those during class time, so you would use your block schedule to make sure that you're not. And then, of course, you'd write them in your daily calendar. Another good thing to add in your daily calendar are due dates, exam dates, and things that you need to be aware of. So as you review your daily calendar each day, you understand what's due that day, as well as what's coming up in the week, which will help you prioritize your time. You may even want to write in there study goals. For example, finish reading chapter 1 this day, and then finish reading chapter 1 the next day. You can write that in there as a goal. It's helpful to break up tasks into smaller tasks. So if chapter 1 seems particularly long, or maybe you're a little slower with reading, you might want to pace yourself out. And especially if you have a full week to read it, you don't want to wait till the last minute. So pop in those little study goals to give you something to work for. And you can put in other notes to yourself as well. It is a good idea to review this daily, so that way you're not forgetting anything that you're supposed to be doing, and you can quickly see what's coming up, which of course will help you prioritize your time for any time that you do have for things that come up, whether it's coursework or other things that have happened. Now, you get a daily planner free at the college every year. If for some reason we run out, or if you just don't like the style, you have other options. For example, you can purchase one online at a local craft store such as Michael's. There are certain times a year where they are on sale, usually end of December, beginning of January. They're usually on sale for 40% off, so that's always a great time to get a planner. You can also print them out for free online. So here's an example of just a website where somebody shares all these free printables that they create for themselves. And you can come on here and select the categories. Notice there's daily, dated calendars, time management. So I just randomly selected one. This is a little worksheet where you can put out your most important tasks and responsibilities. Could be for a day, could be for a week. You can always write that on here. Other things that you also need to do. But again, you're prioritizing your time, so you'll do the most important things first, then these other things. And then, of course, if you have time, you may even put in some things to do. And in this example, they're also reminding us to do things for ourselves. So pick something at least once a day, even if it's just meditating for 5 minutes or watching your favorite TV show. It's important to take time for yourself so you're energized. There are also student examples out there as well. Here's another example on this website called justagirlandherblog.com. So these are geared more towards students. There was a reading log and a project planner, class schedule, setting goals. To print these out, you do have to sign up. But if something really looks appealing to you, usually it's worth it. Not all sites you have to sign up for them. So those are all examples of a daily calendar or a planner, and I will post a sample of our school planner, but it's actually more relevant for what we're going to talk about next, which is the bullet journal. So at this point, I need you to click on the link in the banner for this video and watch the bullet journal, and then come right back to the next thing. And don't forget to pause this video before you start the bullet journal. So a lot of students find the bullet journal very intimidating. It takes a lot of time. It can be done pretty easily with any kind of notebook, but you can see that it does take some time to set up. So my suggestion would be is to use some of the features he highlighted of a bullet journal, but use it in your student planner. And student planners are set up for most of the features he mentioned on the video. They have a monthly log and a daily log. And then for the future log and collections, you would use note pages, and you can even add pages by taping pages in or getting various size post-it notes and adding to that. In fact, I'm just going to click on a student planner. This one, unfortunately, is not for our campus, but it's a good example. I mean, it has an example of what we would see in the Woodland Community College Planner, which you would see a daily calendar that's in there, and then for each 2 pages you see a week where they break it down into days, and this is where you can put in due dates, appointments, your study goals, and you can even use those bullet journal symbols to help manage your time. And there is, in this one, I think there is a note page or 2 somewhere toward the end. So that, of course, is where you can put in notes for something farther into the future, or doing collections, which he mentioned could be useful for classes. You can have a little list for different classes of important tasks that you need to do. So that's an example of the student planner. And this over here on the right side is just a reminder or a review of the symbols and the icons that he used. So a little dot or a bullet you would put next to a task. When you completed a task, you would put a little X over this. If you decided a task was no longer necessary, you just cross it out. For events, you would do a circle, because that means you have to be somewhere instead of doing something. That's why it looks different. And you can even add notes. He talked about signifiers. He used the little asterisks as a star to designate something that's highly important. And even if you don't use these symbols, some things that hopefully you picked up from watching the video is the fact that he reviews what he needs to do, and then he migrates things. So if you didn't get something done one week, you can migrate it to the next week, but you do review it first to make sure that it's still worth your time, because sometimes things are important one day, but then something else changes and then it's not important the next day. Another good tool to use with your block schedule and your daily planner would be to use these assignment calculators that you can find online. So this is one example of an assignment calculator, and this one's geared toward research assignments such as a research paper, but you can put in a due date and a start date, and you can select a subject area, which would just help you if you were printing this out later. But you hit calculate assignment, and it takes this big project, because research papers are a big project, but it breaks it down into smaller steps. It even gives you suggested due dates. So these are things that you could put into your own calendar, so it will feel less intimidating, and you're just chipping away at this big task little by little and not waiting till the last minute. This one also has a printer-friendly version that has a little checklist too, so you could always print this out if you weren't using it in your planner. So at this point, we're going to stop part 2 of the video. Make sure to pick up on part 3 of organizing and prioritizing your studies.